Hello everybody, my name is William. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Today we're going to be taking the BN2 Islander out for a short hop in Montana, departing from Lincoln, going on to Ronan for our flight today. I hope you all do enjoy the flight. It's always nice being able to share these with you guys, so if you do enjoy it, make sure to give the video a like, consider subscribing if you want to see more content as always, and let's get into it. Welcome on board the BN2 Islander, everybody. We're on the ramp here at Lincoln. We'll be doing service to Ronan today, carrying 6 passengers and a little bit of cargo in FS Economy. We're going to go ahead and go through, get this aircraft started up. I'm flying it since the latest world update. This plane did get a patch. One of the things is actually pretty small, just the little toggles on the side of the yoke are gone now, and the clickable zone to hide the yoke is just in the middle like it is in every other aircraft. Quite like it, to be honest. But we're going to go ahead and, like I said, get this thing started up so we can do our flight. We're going to put the mixture full forward as well as the prop. Come up here, both of our left and right tank are open, so we'll get the fuel valve open. We're going to start up the right hand side first, so we'll go ahead and hit the mags on that side, and we're going to open up the guard. Now then we need to get our battery on, our beacon on as well, and then come up here and get our fuel pump on. Now let's see, it's actually not showing any increase in the fuel pressure, so just real quick I'm going to cycle these and see if that changes it at all. It does not, so maybe that's maybe that is working the way I don't know. That doesn't seem quite right to me, but either way, let's see if this thing will fire up. So right-hand side engine, and we will go. Alright, it has started up. We're carrying just a little bit of throttle. Seems like if it doesn't have throttle, it doesn't exactly want to run. It will kind of die if it just sits on idle. We're still not seeing any fuel, so maybe this gauge is a little bit bugged, but we'll continue on, make sure the engine just continues to run. We're going to go ahead and do the same for the left-hand side now, so fuel pump and mags on. Now then, let's make sure it is clear, and we will start the left side engine. Alright, it looks like we have good oil pressure. There it goes. Yeah, you can see the fuel pressure now is up. So maybe it's just tied to the left side engine for some reason, but good oil pressure, oil temperature, and everything is going to climb up. We have 2 good engine starts. Go ahead and get the generator, the last generator on, and click our avionics on. You can see our route is set up in the GPS, so we should be good to go. I'm just going to go through, get a couple more things set up so we can start our taxi and make our way to runway 22 for our departure here out of Lincoln for service to Ronan. Alright, we should be ready to start our taxi now. Let's make sure we're clear, and we're going to be going to 22, so that is off to our left here, so we're going to just disengage the parking brake. Make sure it is up and off. You're good to go, so a little bit of power. We'll start chugging forward. Make our way on out of here for our short flight, just about 70 nautical miles up to the northwest. And remember, on the ground, just to carry a little bit of throttle. We also left the fuel pumps on to see if that'll help us out at all, making sure these things don't die when they're on idle. We'll put the flaps into the takeoff position. I'm going to go ahead and switch the CDI over to GPS, so that will be what we're tracking on the way up there. Also, the transponder, you can actually now put it on different modes. That has been addressed, so that is now on the altitude mode. And we will take care of the lights once we are holding short, which we will be in just a moment. Looks like it's a nice day. There's a little bit of cloud cover. Hopefully it's not going to get in our way too much. We're going to be flying past a couple little mountains and whatnot. But it should be a good VFR day for us to do this flight. Just hold short of runway 22 here. Let's go ahead and get our landing lights on. We're going to put them on pulse. It's nice and bright out today. And get our nav lights on as well as our strobe lights. Make sure we got generators. Pitot heat is on, transponders on. We're going to leave the fuel pumps on until after takeoff. Flaps are in the takeoff position. Looks like we are clear on the left, clear off to the right. We're going to depart runway 22, and then basically just turn on course. We're going to go off to the east about 095 or so. Is not going to be directly on course, but it will kind of line us up to where I was kind of planning the flight out on the sectional earlier. So lined up and ready to add the power. A nice long runway for an Islander anyways. There's 50 knots, and I need to give it a little bit of left rudder there. We are up and climbing on out. Try and hold about 75, 70 knots on the climb out, at least initially, and make sure I stay on that rudder. Just continue to climb on up. Get some altitude above the ground before we start doing anything else. Everything seems to be working well at the moment, which is good. We do not want problems right away. And 095, I'm not sure where that came from. It's going to be about 265, 270, somewhere around there, I believe. I think it was because I was planning it for the return trip. We'll go ahead and start our turn, get our takeoff flaps in now. And that would be about 275 for what I was planning. Nevertheless, we'll just use the heading bug I put in there as the point for the opposite end and continue climbing up. You can see these mountains up in front of us. What we're going to do is actually we're going to go ahead and go to the right a little bit more, and we'll cut right in between these two right in front of us as we continue to climb. We could just shoot off over this little bit right here and then go around, but this is a little bit more direct on course to go in between these two, and also a little bit further away, so we should have plenty of time to climb up in between now and then. So we are going to the west. We're going to use an even altitude for our cruise. And I think we could probably pull off 8,500 as long as we maintain visual with the ground and everything around us. Keep us a little bit lower so we can kind of take in the sights as well. I think that sounds like what I want to do. But we do got to make sure if it starts getting any worse, we're going to need to climb up a little bit. So there are some peaks that are definitely higher than that around us. You can see some of them just there off to our right. There'll be more on our course. So our flaps are up, everything. We have to get into the autopilot here before too long. Our fuel flow, I think, has also been addressed. So we can start leaning the mixture back since we are at a decent altitude. See the fuel flow knob, see it dip there as I went back a little bit further, so we're going to bring it just a bit rich of that. There was 8,500 feet. So we will aggressively level the nose there. But the fuel flow, it does not seem nearly as high as it was before, so there might have been a little bit of a tweak to the performance of the aircraft. It brings it more in line with what I was expecting from what FSECONOMY had said the performance should be as far as fuel burn and its endurance and everything like that, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it is nice. It is a little bit choppy as we're heading over the top of this terrain. But we are making our way towards Ronan now. And we'll go ahead and bring it back. Since we are up above this train, we got good visual on everything. I'm going to go about 275, which is the heading I was trying to say earlier, but wasn't really thinking too well. And we're still just climbing on up. We got to pull that power back a little bit more. It's a little tricky to get it trimmed whenever you're going through a little bit of turbulence like that. Let's go ahead and get the heading knob on the right side here. Don't want to go off to the east just yet. We'll save that for the return trip. We'll be fine cruising over. It's a little bit high at the moment, but we'll use that to get over this first little bit of terrain, and then we will come back down to 8,500 and see if we can get the autopilot set up at that point. So on this heading, we should fly over a couple lakes, and then at that point we can basically, from what I saw on the chart, we can make our way directly up to Ronan, and we'll fly just off to the south, if I'm not mistaken, of a pretty good sized mountain up about 10,000 feet or so, and it should put it right off of our right wing, basically, if everything goes well. Trim the nose down just a little bit more, and it looks like we are pretty much set now. About 145 knots across the ground. About what I would expect, in all honesty. It is burning just about, it looks like that is about 15-16 gallons per hour on each tank. We could pull the throttle back even more if we wanted to, but that is what's reported. I think in FSECONOMY it says it burns about 30 gallons an hour, so 15 per side. That would make sense. And I definitely will not complain about it being a little bit more friendly on the fuel if we are using it in FSECONOMY. This plane is a pretty good one for FSECONOMY, in my opinion. It's got 9 seats. It's definitely not the fastest, but you can take off from basically anywhere, land basically anywhere. And they're pretty darn cheap too. Comparatively, it's about half the price of a Cessna 208. Basically, the only downside I would say is something like a 208 does have more payload. You do get a couple extra seats. Not that that's a big deal. 208's just a touch faster and burns Jet A instead of 100 low lead, which is a little bit pricier, but in the grand scheme of things, this is a cheaper airplane, so it's cheaper to pay for every single month and cheaper to get maintenance done on. The slow speed is generally the thing that is going to hold it back for a lot of people, I'm sure. But whenever you're flying over cool areas that you like to kind of, maybe get outside the airplane, enjoy the views of it, just taking the sights. Also, you like going into small, challenging airstrips, or you're more into kind of island areas, a lot of island hopping, short hops and stuff like that. This is a great plane. And it doesn't have so many seats that if you can't fill it, like today, we're just carrying 6 passengers. It definitely doesn't feel like a waste either. So, and the fuel burn, if it is accurate now, is really low for something like that. So, just another plus. Let's go ahead and see if we can get the autopilot set. So we got to turn on the autopilot here, put it into altitude mode, and bring it down to 8,500 feet. We weren't quite on it, so it went to 86, I guess. We can switch over to vertical speed now and go down, just do 500 feet per minute. Should bring us back down and capture 8,500. And we can now activate a heading mode, and it should bring us around to the bug that we set right there on about 275, somewhere around that mark. I definitely think the autopilot for me works best whenever you you hand fly it up to the situation that you want it to start taking command from, and then activate it from that point. So that's kind of what I did there, and I had a pretty smooth activation, and now it's just taken over and managing our flight for us. So we're showing 50 nautical miles. We're not flying direct to. Like I said, we're gonna kind of I'm gonna see if I can identify some points as we kind of cruise along, set ourselves up so we do avoid some of the mountains, just kind of put it off of our right wing so we can enjoy it a little bit on our way into Ronan. But for now, we are going to enjoy the views on the trip. Montana really is a incredibly beautiful area. I'm once again lucking out with the weather around here. These are the two kind of lakes I was seeing on the sectional. I kind of missed where I was anticipating to be. I was anticipating flying right over the middle, right in between them. We're more up, about to overfly the northern lake, so we're going to adjust our course by about 5 degrees to the left a little bit. Just fly about 270 almost exactly. Should bring us down to the south side. We might actually adjust that just a little bit more to the south side of these peaks up here. Southern peak is about 9,400 feet, and as we go a little bit further up to the north, I believe it's called McDonald Peak, and I think it's at about 9,800 feet or so. We could climb and fly over it. Probably just be a little bit bumpy for us, and we could just shoot this nice gap between the terrain and then turn up north direct to Ronan. So that's what we're going to plan for. We do have the nice lakes down here that we are overflying. Some cool airstrips around here as well that maybe we'll make our way into one day if we can make it happen. Get somebody that wants to have us fly them there. But for now, we have people trying to get into Ronan, and we're going to try and make it a nice smooth flight. So it's going to take us right up there, and then we will we'll hang a right after this. These mountains kind of pass off of our right wing and make our way north right into Ronan. So let's enjoy the pass, and then we should be able to turn up direct Ronan and start our basically final leg into the airfield. Alright, we are just flying in between this little pass here. Really pretty lake down beneath us. We got a little bit of a range off to our left, and then those points that we had talked about already up off of our right wing. Pretty decently high mountains. Bad weather or something, this would be a pretty treacherous place to fly around if you were just up in the clouds. I believe this is a Rattlesnake Wilderness off to our left-hand side. Place I would want to avoid. I cannot stand snakes at all. And then we have those peaks up to our right side, and then you can see how nice and clear it gets once we pass them, and we can start making our way up directly into Ronan, nice and clear without worrying about the terrain much at all, thankfully. It is a nice clear day, and like I said, we had the performance. If we needed to, we could have just climbed up over them. But a little bit of a sightseeing trip rather than just going completely over the top. not adding much time to the trip either way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring the plane to the right about 10 degrees or so. That way we are starting to head a little bit more on course. Alright, looking at our GPS here, we are going to make our right-hand turn to get us a little bit more on course once we just round this corner a little bit more. Beautiful mountains and everything, but we don't want to get up and up close and personal with them. So we're going to go ahead and come right another 10 degrees or so. A little bit more than that. Now we will start tracking. I did go ahead and tune up the Missoula VOR. And if I wanted to track it up to Ronan, I had that figured out, but we are just going to, we're just going to kind of go for it, kind of wing it. So our track, if we were direct to, was about this, and we're going to have to come to the right even more. Pretty much it looks like almost go directly north if we're going to make our way up to Ronan. So still just a little bit, get out a little bit away from this terrain, and then we will make our turn. Just kind of paralleling our course at the moment. We can actually go ahead and start kind of dog-legging our way in there. That will not hurt anybody at all. We'll go about, I think that's about 305 or so. We'll roll out and see what this looks like. We just want to get a little bit more separation off from the side here, and then we can make our turn in. This is a really nice plane to fly. It's very relaxed, very laid back. I definitely do recommend it. If you're in FS Economy as well, it is it works flawlessly with FS Economy, I will say. Had no troubles getting it to work with aliases or anything like that. I was a little concerned about the fuel flow to begin with, but we can see here we're about bang on the money for our fuel flow, and I think we're actually going a little bit faster than they say the model goes, which you know, that's going to vary a little bit with winds and everything like that if you're flying with real weather. It is a lot of fun, and it's just an extra bonus. If you are into FS Economy, it works perfectly well. If you're not into FS Economy at all, you know, that stuff doesn't really matter to you, but it is a great plane to fly. So we're going to go ahead and turn up now about 30 more degrees to the right. We're far enough away from the terrain for me to feel a little bit more comfortable heading up a little bit closer to the field. You can see we're kind of right in between Missoula and I think that's Kalispell up to the north of it, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we're just on the south side of the lake here, and that is where Ronan should be. It will take me a bit more flying around this area to get completely comfortable with exactly where I am, and Montana is a pretty big space, so a lot of new areas to explore. Nice little airstrip down there on our left. There's a ton of small paved airstrips as well, I've noticed, in Montana. Definitely not going to complain about that, but we're about 14 nautical miles out now. Our field elevation at Ronan's about 3,000 feet, so let's go ahead and crank this down to about 4,000 feet. We're going to use the autopilot to start our descent, showing 5 minutes out. So from 8,500 feet to 3,000 feet, that's 5,500 feet in a descent, 5.5 minutes. So we can just click this and go down for 1,000 feet per minute and pull the power back. We do not accelerate too much. So at that rate, that should get us down to 4,000 feet as we're basically over the field. We do have runway 34 and 16 available for us at Ronan. The wind in the area has been calm, basically from everything I've seen, so We're already pretty much on a straight in for runway tree 4, so that is what we're going to plan for. I think this is our field up here, if I'm not mistaken. We will see once we get a little bit closer. I think there are a couple little airports up around this area, but it kind of looks like it is our field. These are these two bodies of water, are these two kind of ponds right there, big ponds right there. And it is almost directly north of right in between them, which would maybe put it right here. Maybe this is it. Maybe that makes more sense. But we're about 4 minutes out, 9 miles, and we're coming through 7,000 feet at the moment for 4,000, and straight in for runway tree 4 at Ronan. Alright, so I think this is what I was saying I thought the runway was. While we could probably definitely land an Islander on whatever that is not the runway. This, which I spotted afterwards, definitely is just on the north side of the town there. Good for future reference. It's a little bit easier to spot the town sometimes than it is the airfield, especially with kind of just how pixelated things can get with the draw distance not being the greatest. Otherwise my computer absolutely chokes. So we are going to work our way in and set ourselves up for a nice long final. We don't really need to worry about our airspeed too much. We do have flaps that we can add in, really add the drag to the aircraft if we need it. But we do need to get down into the white arc if we're going to put our flaps down. You can see that white arc starts around, it's right around the 85 knot mark. I think it actually says somewhere in here the flap extend speed is 88 knots. So we're going to try and stick to that today. You can see the airfield right there. It is hiding if we're just in our view behind this main pillar. That is my one complaint on the cockpit visibility in this thing. But it is what it is. We're going to go ahead and take over manual control and line her up. Flying right over the town, about 3.5 miles out from runway tree 4. And we're going to start pulling this power on back. Need to bring the mixture up a little bit more. The field elevation is about 3,000 feet. Like I said, and we're just about to be at 4,000. 2.5 miles out. It would be about perfect, so we can kind of slow our descent a little bit. We're still showing 4 white. Ideally, we would want 2 white, 2 red, to show we're on glide slope. Start adding some trim up as we lower our airspeed. Let's get it down below 100 knots. It's power for altitude and pitch for airspeed, so we're pitching the nose up to slow the plane, and we've reduced the power to keep our path going on down. If we want to get back on top of it, we'll just add power. There's about 88 knots. We'll go take off flaps. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of power in now. And we'll go landing flaps. That's a little too much power. She really kind of balloons with that. Those landing flaps are no joke. Alright, we need to add some power. Keep it right around 60 knots. It's what I'm pretty comfortable with on the approach. A little low, but we're doing just fine. We're about to cross over the threshold. Looks like we got a little bit of crosswind from the front left here. Just pull the power out now. Right as we touch down and get on that right rudder, get us back towards center line. Nose wheel down nice and gentle. And we will start getting on our brakes to make this first left. Really gentle on the brakes. We could have stopped that thing so fast if we wanted to. This Islander basically leaps into the air. That's why we needed to keep a little bit of throttle. So that's embarrassing. We're going to go ahead and start up the left and start up the right. That's what I mean. If you don't keep a little bit of throttle, the engines will just kind of cut out when you're on the ground. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it's kind of just been the way it's been for me since the update. Like I said, even keeping the fuel pumps going and everything like that, it's just the way it is for me. So keep a little bit of throttle in while we're cleaning the aircraft up and taxiing back. Put the transponder into standby. Go back to a taxi light. Strobe lights off, nav lights off. We can also get our pitot heat off if we want to. We'll just taxi straight ahead to parking. We'll complete our flight. Get our 6 passengers off, our cargo off, and get paid. They're probably freaking out that the engines just turned off right as we turned off the runway. It's never happened to me in flight, but it is something that happens on the ground for whatever reason. And it is more or less just you have to remember to keep a little bit of throttle on to keep the aircraft running. Alright, so we are in a good parking spot. I'm going to go ahead and hit the parking brake. That completes our flight in FS Economy. I'll go through and shut the aircraft down, but I just want to say thank you all so much for joining me on the flight today. Kind of the first real flight with the BN2 in FS Economy, seeing how it works and all that, especially after the update. I think the update, the plane flies a little bit better, looks a little bit better, is a little bit easier to use. The only thing is the throttle's cutting out whenever you idle them, and I can probably do it again here if I really want to. Just pull them to idle, let's see if they quit, but having said that, now they won't for whatever reason. Nope, there they go. Yeah, with the fuel pumps on and everything, I'm not exactly sure why that is, just the fuel pressure getting too low, but either way, I hope you all have enjoyed this flight. That's a minor problem with the aircraft. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.